Welcome to Westmont's Compelling Conversations. I'm Gayle D. Beebe, president of Westmont College. In Compelling Conversations, I engage scholars, leaders, authors, and members of our community in discussions that inform us about essential issues and encourage us to take meaningful action. Hello, this is Gayle Beebe. I'm back with Compelling Conversations. Our guest today is Joel Banez, Director of College Software. Hi, Joel.
Good morning, Dr. Beebe. I'm glad to be here.
Well, it's wonderful to have you, and I just wanted to be able to spend some time talking with you about your amazing journey. You were not born in the United States. You came here as a teenager and then met and married Lori Ann during college. You have 3 amazing sons. They, in turn, their families are growing, and just wanted an opportunity to talk with you about that today.
Sure. It's really amazing that it's been over 40 years now. I remember touching down in LAX July 10th, 1979.
1979. How old were you?
I was 17. I just started my first year in college at LaSalle University.
LaSalle in Manila?
In Manila,
okay.
Yeah, De La Salle. I remember when that door opened, it was such an amazing feeling because there was a gust of humidity that reminded me, did we just leave the Manila? How come it seems like it's Manila all over again? It was so humid. I wasn't prepared for that, actually.
Oh, that's amazing. Where were you born?
I was born in Quezon City, in a suburb of Manila.
And then what did your father do?
My father was a vice president and controller at a bank in Manila.
And what were the events that led to the need for the family to leave the Philippines and move to the United States?
Actually, I just discovered this just a couple of years ago when Dad had told me that my mom was told that he had to bring Dad out of Manila. Otherwise, the military police actually would bring him back and put him in prison for another stint. They said, if you don't leave now, we're going to take him back in.
Now, your father was in prison with Benito Aquino, wasn't he?
Yes, he was. Yeah.
And you knew the Aquino family.
I did not. My folks did.
Okay.
My mom did, especially because both of them would actually be in the same place to go visit their husbands.
Wow. And what was it like living under the Marcos regime?
I was back in the early 70s, and not only did we have the regime issue, but we also had a lot of the gasoline. What do you call it?
The gas wars, the gas lines, all the shortage.
Yeah, the shortages, exactly. Yeah. So it was interesting to have those two together. Being in martial law didn't have we didn't see a lot of violence because there was a lot more police activity, not a lot of violence. So it was fairly relatively calm, but you knew that your rights were minimized a little bit. So there was a lot of times when there was curfews, but otherwise life just seemed to be kind of normal.
Now, was English your first language, or was it? Did you speak Filipino dialect?
I spoke Filipino, but English is a second language.
Yeah.
So in school, when I started school, it was English all the way through.
Okay. That's just amazing. Fast forward to you've landed, you're 17 years old, and what is your first year in the U.S.? What does it look like? What experiences do you have, and how do you begin to get a sense of what you're going to do?
I'd like to answer that, but it seems like my previous answer about my father. Can I clarify that?
Oh, totally. I love it.
So he wasn't in prison for anything he did
right.
in terms of any kind of illegal manner. He was in there as a political detainee because he was in a position to be able to actually work with the government then to kind of take over the bank that he was in. But the owners of the bank really didn't do anything wrong. And so they kept him with the idea that he'd break and just work with the government to put some trumped-up charges against the owners.
Wow.
And so when he didn't, that's why he was kept for all those years.
Wow.
Just to break him, and he never really did.
How many years was he in prison?
He was there for about 3 years and 5 months or so.
Wow. And completely separated from your family other than when you could visit him at the prison?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was one stint for about a couple of days when they said, oh, you can go home now, just before Christmas. And then he was let go, but then they came back 3 days later.
And re-imprisoned him?
And re-imprisoned him.
Wow.
Yeah. So they didn't call it imprisonment as much as they actually kept him in solitary confinement at a base in Manila.
Okay.
It was a military situation, so it was not civil. So the military could basically do whatever they wanted to do.
Without supervision?
Well, not only that, but not because it wasn't civil, it was not well known of what was happening to them.
Wow. Did you, when you looked at the prospects when your family had to leave the Philippines, how large a family did you leave behind?
Actually, all of us came.
Oh, okay, so
Yeah.
the whole family, including the extended family.
Well, let me go backtrack. So I was supposed to stay and finish my college years over there. But then my mom said, no, I want you to come with us. So all 6 children came with my mom over. And I have a large extended family on my dad's side, not so much on my mom's side. My mother's side, we had a family here in Texas, but we also had family in the Philippines. So it's a large family. We have a large family. So interestingly enough, we have a large family here, an extended family here as well. One thing interesting about that transition to the United States was I grew up with a lot of U.S.-based experience in terms of what I saw on TV, what I read, what the books I've known about the United States, and also family members who came from here and told us stories. So there was all these expectations about what U.S. living or what the U.S. might be like when I arrived here. And so leaving family over, extended family, wasn't as a big deal as because I had family here.
Yeah.
So the one thing interesting is, as I mentioned, there's a large group of family members that there was a support group. But as in most people who move over or migrate from a different country, there really wasn't out here. In fact, the Filipino community where I was at was really small, almost non-existent.
Wow.
So,
and then when did you change your plans to attend college, and which college did you enroll in here?
yeah. I wanted to go to UC Irvine, but because where I was going to school in the Philippines, a lot of my units didn't translate.
Okay.
And because I didn't have high school experience here, UC Irvine suggested, why don't you go to junior college first, get your 2 years in.
AA degree.
And then transfer over. And at that point, that's what I did, went to Fullerton Junior College because we lived out in Fullerton.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought I'd move over and decide to go back to UC Irvine, but I realized it was such a long drive. So I just stayed local.
Okay.
And finished up at Cal State University in Fullerton.
And when did you meet Lorianne?
I met Lorianne in 1990. And she was roommates with a friend of mine who was in high school ministry at a local church down in Fullerton. I think it was a pairing. They said that she had problems with her computer. And so, nice guy that I was, I came over and realized that, okay, fired up the computer, and it was good.
So even then, your software skills came in handy.
I think it was my aura, my electricity.
Your aura, absolutely. And then how long have you been married?
Well, it'll be 30 years. It is 30
great.
years this year.
Well, and tell us about your sons. We have a special love for your 3 boys.
My oldest is Noah. He graduated in 2019, I think, and he's 26, married to Ozzy, Olivia, who is a daughter of the retired tennis coach here at Westmont. Kathy. We just found out, actually, that he got a job at the Ridley Tree Cancer Center.
Oh, did he really?
He
that's
did.
Fantastic.
It was great. He is the way he is the way he got to that job was a classic networking job. Like, he had one interview, got the job. It's like, no one does that. No, where is that? It's because he met the person who he'll be working with. just
Yeah.
meeting them and getting to know them, and them getting to know who he is.
Oh, that's wonderful.
That is wonderful. And then my second one is Corbin, who's
Yes.
good friends with your son, Ricky.
Absolutely.
And Corbin is working at Deckers.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's also a graduate here.
Yeah.
I think that was like 2 years ago, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, well, just last spring.
This is last spring.
2021.
That's
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So we're glad that he's landed as well. And then my third son, Ethan, is a junior at Westmont.
And Ethan plays soccer for us, doesn't he?
Ethan played soccer his first year and decided to kind of concentrate on his studies.
Well, the academics are tough, so that's a good decision.
And we're glad that he did, because we were kind of wondering when that switch was going to be for him.
Oh,
And it
great.
switched this year. He's so driven and so focused to kind of look forward to what landing on the other side would be for him.
You are listening to Westmont's Compelling Conversations with President Gayle D. Beebe.
Joel, if I could, I would love to know what it's like to come as a teenager to the U.S., and now you're so far down the road since, as you say, it was 40 years ago. What impresses you from that time? In what way did it shape you, and what way does it continue to influence you today?
Coming here as a 17-year-old and then turning 18 was interesting because I didn't really know the culture. I mean, I saw it in television, I read about it, but experiencing it was totally different.
Yeah.
And then I had to go to school, which is like, I had a heavy accent, and I was wondering if people would understand me. So it was one of those times when I need to make an effort to get understood.
Yeah.
To be in a position where language wouldn't be an impediment to learn and to be known in one sense. But I realized that being as an 18-year-old and new, I was curious enough, so it wasn't too hard to be able to get to know people because I asked questions. I was curious. They knew from listening to me that I wasn't born here. So getting to know people that way made me more vulnerable. And so I think people appreciated that, the fact that I had no agenda. I just kind of learned. But aside from the academic setting here, because I had to jump in, coming in July, I had less than a month to get into school. Going to the fellowship at EB Free in Fullerton, that was really the biggest impact.
Oh, wow.
Coming in, because I felt, even though back then people of color were very small in that community.
Okay.
As I said, I couldn't figure out where the Filipino community was in Orange County. There was a lot in Los Angeles. So for a while there, we were traveling back and forth. But being plugged in at that church was basically both my growth as a Christian and also growth as a human being. Up until I came here, we've been at that church for over 30 years.
Wow.
So I saw myself grow through that process, being in that church, going through college ministry, high school ministry, and going as an elder by the time we left.
Wow.
It was really amazing to have grown with good teaching.
Yeah.
And also with people that I kind of grew up with.
Yeah. How many years have you been at Westmont?
This will be my 12th year in September.
Okay.
So
I remember when you came, we had common friends from our time in Orange County.
We did.
And, think of Scott Brady and others that the overlaps. But it's just been wonderful to have you here and to have your wife, Lori Ann, also at the college, have all three of your boys go to school here. What has been meaningful to you about your work at Westmont?
I know that the work that I do impacts staff more. And to be able to say that I participate in them doing their best work means a lot to me.
Yeah.
I don't mind being in the shadows as long as I know that the work that I do really is impactful to them. And I like them to shine because it's important for them to do their work well, because they impact students and they impact donors, they impact everybody else that I don't get a chance to do
Absolutely.
so. And those times when I do have students who intern for me, probably also the best work that I do, because I get to see them work alongside. I get to give them the opportunity to do the work in their way.
Yeah.
I give them a goal and they do it in their own style, and we get a chance to kind of exchange. And then so that's really been a great opportunity when I do get those chances working with students and see them grow.
Well, you're amazing at it, and I love and appreciate your work and you. As we prepare to wrap up, could you tell me a highlight either of your time coming to the U.S. or during your time at Westmont, a challenge, and then an enduring memory that really lingers in your mind?
A highlight would definitely be getting married to Lorianne.
Oh, awesome.
I think that was a transition that brought me from, because after a couple of years of high school ministry, I kind of wondered what would happen. I mean, what's up next? And just God just brought me this wonderful woman, and we were able to start a new life together, and obviously gave us our children.
Yeah.
You know, as you get older, you find that people above you get older as well. So there was a time in our family's lives where there was so much death within a few years.
Interesting. Okay.
That was kind of jarred us a bit. My sister's daughter, she was 3 and she died of SIDS. My youngest sister's daughter,
Wow.
she had a 3-month-old, and she had called us and said that she died of SIDS.
Yeah.
And so in that same night, all of us wanted to go be with her in Redwood City.
Okay, in the Bay Area.
In the Bay Area. But I still wanted to coordinate something with Lorianne and the kids, and so did my sister. But my other sister and my 2 brothers decided to just go on their way that night. And just before midnight, they got into an accident and killed my brother.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, Joel, I'm sorry.
So within about a day or so.
You had lost 2 members of the family.
Yeah. And what's interesting is that my mom was going through, my mom had been 2 years into, I think a year or 2 years into her pancreatic cancer. And so, which brought my brother, who died, back from the mission field, because we're thinking we were going to prepare for that homecoming. But it's interesting how it turned out that he would go first. And so, and a year later, we lost my mom to pancreatic cancer as well. So that was a tough couple of years there.
Oh, that's just heartbreaking.
Yeah. So I think that was those were indelible marks in our family's life. And it's interesting though, because it kind of galvanized us even more.
Wow.
So we have a tight, small family, and it's grown. When we came here with 7 children, my dad and my mom, it's grown now to over 20 grandchildren.
That's amazing.
So it's really been interesting.
And your dad is still alive, isn't he?
My dad's still alive.
How old is he?
My dad will be 86 in June.
That's just great.
Yeah.
I love seeing the pictures that you have of him and just thinking of your life. It's just amazing.
Well, I keep telling him, you should come up here more often, because we never know when the seasons of life change.
That's for sure. Well, Joel, thank you so much for being willing and available to let me interview you. You've led a fascinating life, and you just go about your work in a quiet, humble way. You're amazingly effective, and thank you for your service to the college. Thank you for your love and service to Christ and to the purposes of his work. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Beebe. We love being here.
Well, we love having you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Join us next time for another compelling conversation with President Gayle D. Beebe.